Hello my dear friends, this is a PaintyKat. My name is Catherine. Today we're going to paint fall landscape and we will paint it with watercolor. I will demonstrate to you paper I use today. It's 280 grams thick, really thick paper. It's have a cotton 70 process of it and also it's acid free, which is really important for the watercolor. You have to fix paper of course with a tape, and I already have a sketch on it. You can find my sketches, my traceables in Creative Club. You can print it, transfer it to the paper and fix paper with a tape. Get ready to paint with me. This tutorial, it's a demonstration, short version of the real-time tutorial going for 1 hour and 12 minutes, and it's also available for you on my Creative Club. All links are down below. Here we're gonna talk about main moments and about techniques in general that needs to use to create this landscape. I have porcelain palette, really recommended to you because compared to plastic one, here you can understand color you're mixing better. Also you can see on a porcelain surface watercolor spreading really well. It's not became as a single huge drop as it usually looks on a plastic palettes. So it's a sunset landscape. I have horizontal line in the middle of my paper and colors. It's the colors of the sunset. I started with aureline. It's a yellow color, really close to cadmium lemon one. But difference between them, aureline it's a translucent watercolor, cadmium lemon it's half translucent, also can look as a thick one, half coverage, compare to your brand and compare to consistency you use. For this sunset I really recommend to use cobalt blue mostly as a blue color, and to use violet just a little bit, because if you use lots of violet, usually sunset looks really as a summer sunset. Today it's a fall, and if you wanna create this mood on your landscape, you have to paint sky that much clear and colder looking. Violet it's a warm color and cobalt blue looking much colder. Reflect everything that you're creating. Above horizontal line you have to reflect all colors and lines under this line. You don't need to be exact in any detail in a reflection, but at least main biggest spots have to be similar. It's possible to add more colors when paper still staying wet. You can see that watercolor still spreading good enough. It's not that runny as it was from the start. And also use napkins. Napkins will help to you in this tutorial to create light spot of the sun. It can help to you create shape of the clouds, for example, and also control colors, clean your brushes, and help with watercolor lifting. We will talk about it later. You need to remember that when you painting wet on wet, all colors will look much lighter and less saturated in a moment when your painting will dry. Right now colors are looking really beautiful, I'd say, bright enough, saturated enough, but look, paper already almost dried, isn't it? I just tried how watercolor gonna spread in a tiny area, and I've got dot a spot with sharp edges, watercolor not spreading free anymore. What to do if you still want to create wet in wet, soft edged details? Really simple, wet it again. By the way, please make an attention on my tools. I use flat brush for wetting, and important the type of the bristle, what brush you use for wetting. I use flat brush number 3. You can find it in my materials I recommend for watercolor. These brushes are really soft, very, very soft. It's that soft that you can use it for blushing your cheeks, for example. I know on a video it's not that visible what quality of the bristle, if it's a rough or is a soft. This one really soft. For watercolor I recommend to use soft brushes only, and scratchy brushes you can use only if you need it for some special effects, usually for watering, for helping in a blending. Brushes soft because other way you can scratch surface of your paper. Wet paper can be scratched easily. Also, rough brushes can rub surface of the paper. You don't need it actually. When you're watering on top, you have, imagine like you're glazing with a layer of water and not touching surface of the paper with your brush at all. This is a type of the touch you have to give. Don't press on your brush at all when you're watering. This way you can create layers and layers of wet in wet effect and technique. And look, it seems like I create all this in one go. It's not so, isn't it? I just demonstrated. I did it in a couple of steps. Next, you've been asking about, is it possible to use a ruler for an artist? Of course it is. Of course it is. Actually, artists don't need a ruler. Any wooden plank or maybe sheet of the paper can do the same. You need straight line, horizontal line, for example. It's easy. Just take a paper next to you. It was, by the way, just a usual printing paper, and you can put it on top. Check if right and left side are similar, and give a straight and accurate looking line. I already demonstrated to you some other ways, let's say some other tools on our previous tutorials. It can be mold stick. I like it. Just for small or middle-sized paintings, it's no need to. My mold stick big enough, you know. Sometimes sheet of the paper it's the best. It's a lightweight and everyone have it. Next, layer. Look, right now I'm not spreading water everywhere, but I can give the same effect, soft edge, with a second brush, which is a helping brush. It's a similar type of the brushes, but my normal one, this brush, it's a number 8 from the set of different brushes. It's not that big, I say. It's giving nice control. It's pointy enough. I can create tree shape. I can create, look, small house there. Colors in general, sunset, all those colors you already use on your sky and a reflection, and only on an area close to the sun I recommend to use green. If it's a grass, it can be green. If it's a tree crown, there where we have the most light still, even if it's a sunset, we still able to real color of the leaves and grass and trees, tree crowns. Of course it's not same green as you can see in summertime. So green here I use, it's never clean. It's never really just a simple green. I usually like to mix it with a little bit, maybe orange, cadmium orange, sometimes with a little bit of yellow for nice warm shade. And this way, look, green looking really calm, and personally I like how it's combining with violet in the shadows. Shape of the trees here. It's need to be different, of course. Imagine we have so many beautiful trees. Here it's mostly a silhouettes, so of course try to be random. Fir tree, some tree can look as oak, for example, some as a birch tree. Try to check photos, some photo references to get ideas about shapes of the plants there, of the trees. Reflection. As soon as you created everything on a coastline, of course, need to repeat similar spots, similar shapes in the reflection. Different is reflection can look softer, let's say more blended, especially blended in a vertical way. See, I'm always going down. If I'm reflecting orange, I still keeping same direction all the way down. If details on a reflection I like to control well, maybe it's a reflection from the sun or tiny house, usually I like to paint with a small brush and help watercolor to spread with a helping brush. Sometimes areas I have to reflect really big. This way you can create shape of reflections first and go fast enough, paint on a big area, some violet, some green, some orange, spread it with bigger brush. This way painting going faster, and you, of course, you're able to save some time. Best time for painting, it's about 1 hour. Everyone doing mistakes when getting tired, isn't it? So if you know a tricks, if you're using a tricks that help to you to save time, of course you're able to complete painting in a shorter time, and this way you also save from the mistakes. Watercolor lifting. For this painting, I can recommend to use it for rays of sunlight. It's going kinda easy, isn't it? If you're painting on a thick paper, it's not that complicated to lift up a little bit of watercolor. I recommend to use for thin lines, I recommend to use flat slanted brush, wet paper, wet area first, shape of the ray of the light. Wait a little bit, because water need to react with dry watercolor, isn't it? And you can lift watercolor after with just a napkin. Pressed napkin. Napkin will take an extra water from your watercolor paper, and of course with water it will lift up some of the watercolor pigment as well. If you need to lift up more, you have to do it again and again and again. Please do not rub your paper with brush, because it's not a successful way. This time you can scratch wet surface of the paper, and you will not like final result. Trust me. Try to wet and lift up pigment. Wet again and lift up. Press paper, but do not rub. And by the way, I know not everyone likes this technique. A little bit later I'll demonstrate you another way how to create a reflection, some highlights on a wall, and rays of light. About this brush, it's one of my favorite brushes. It's a unique type, I'd say. You can find this brush in a set of the 12 different brushes. Links are down below. It's a fork brush. In one go, seems like it's painting bunch of the grass, isn't it? If you have this brush in your tools, you will actually love to paint grass in landscapes. But not only for brush, need here also line brush, because here it's a cane and cane stems really thin. Look, grass and cane, it's looking kinda random, isn't it? Try not to repeat similar cane stems and a bunch of the grass everywhere. Some area have more grass, isn't it? On the right side, it's almost nothing of it. Also, I give a light angle to the grass lines and canes, because this way it looks like, imagine maybe fall wind was blowing, and right now it's not that straight as it was in the summertime. Again, even through the lines, not only through the colors, through the lines and shapes, you expressing a mood of the late fall. I like to paint details here with line brush. I think it's giving nice control. And you can use a little bit of pink color, it's a carmine, mix it with orange for example, and green for grass and cane. It's have to be not really bright and simple green. Give it a nice warm tone, mix it with orange again. Stems and leaves always have sharp edges, no any blending. But the flower part, let's say top part of the plant, of the cane, it can be blended a little bit, just a little bit, because it's fluffy, you know. So the fluffy feeling you can create by blending the sharp edge, really easy. Leaves for the cane, I like it. It's so well known, you know, as soon as you will crisscross these pointy long leaves, you getting a feeling it's really a cane. Try to mix it, try to paint it in a random way, a little bit chaotical, you know, because it's a natural look, and again because imagine it was a wind that did a total mess in this cane. I also added a little bit of violet for cane plants, because I think violet here giving a touch of sunset colors and also giving a nice contrast on a foreground part. About waves, actually in this time of the day, wind already not blowing, weather staying really calm, so surface of the water will be flat. It can be a tiny folds on the water, so reflection also not really bright. You can lift it up, or you can use white gouache. This is white gouache, and look how contrasted and really white it's looking. Sometimes I like to use it, and gouache possible to glaze with watercolor as soon as you dry it well. Look, I put white brush strokes. Gouache looking similar to acrylic, but acrylic after it's dried, it's really stable, not reacting with water anymore. Gouache can soak water again, and you can glaze, you can give a color to these white areas with a tiny touch of watercolor. You can fix with gouache any mistakes that you probably could do in the progress, and you can glaze it on top, so all your fixes, if you did any, will look invisible. I like to combine white gouache and watercolor, especially if it's dosed well, you know, it's not everywhere, just a tiny touch of white, always looking nice with watercolor. Gouache have a nice coverage. This is the main difference between watercolor and gouache. So in tutorial I demonstrate you both ways, watercolor lifting up and watercolor plus white gouache. choose those way you prefer more, because I know not everyone like to or lift up watercolor. It needs some practice, you know. My friends, my painting done. Thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for all of your support. It means a lot for me. And I just wish you inspiration, nice creativity ideas. And I hope to see your own paintings. You can join me in my creative club. You can join me in Instagram. And if you want to share to me your paintings, please don't forget #PaintyKat. This way it's really easy for me to find your paintings. I'll catch you on my next tutorials. It was a PaintyKat. Bye bye.